What's good, savages? Welcome to another episode of Blue Collar Sports. I'm Stéphane Paulin, and with me, as always, is the Pablo Picasso of sports talk, because every time he gives his take, it's a masterpiece.
Oh,
Zach McGibbon, what's up?
I'm doing great. I get fired up. I think I'm ready to go. Then I hear the intros. I'm like, I'm fired up. I'm ready to go.
I fudged it up a little bit. I wrote it down. I'm like, I'm not going to stutter my way through this one. I'm like, I'm going to get it down, and I still fucked it up. I'll get it. I'm like, I got to write these down. So I'm like thinking of stuff. I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm going to pick someone. Anyway, what's good, Zach? How was your weekend?
Weekend was good. It was quite busy. I ended up doing some boxing over the weekend, which was fun.
I saw that.
Yeah, it was so cool. I got to call some boxing, and I was a little worried because we were going in and it was going to be a 4-person commentary booth. And I was like, 4 people on a commentary team can be a lot.
Right.
But it came out super well. Was really happy with how everything went. And the boxing was fun because it's obviously more of the amateur side. So
right.
Some of the boxers are a little bit more free flowing with their punches. So you get a little bit more excitement going on. We did get a knockout during the fight, which was great. And it was so much fun. I went to our producers afterwards and I was like, please, let's do some more boxing.
Yeah.
Let's do this again. This is a lot of fun. So, I got to do some boxing, and it was just perfect timing, too, with the Canelo Crawford fight as well taking place the next day. So it was a very boxing-filled weekend. I also stuck in a wrestling show in between. There was a local show here I went to.
Hey, look at you.
And, it was a busy time. It was a busy time over the weekend, but a fun time.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was busy. We had baseball. We played on Sunday. I had a doubleheader, and we're into the fall ball season right now until Thanksgiving. So that was fun. We had practice on Saturday, and just keeping busy. It's fun. Before we get into the NFL Week 2 reaction and all the other good stuff we want to talk about, I want to say that we are now available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, audio form only. I figured out the software I was using, Riverside FM. I could just add it to like Apple Podcasts and Spotify for free, or it's included in what I'm already paying. So I was like, yeah, I guess I'll do that. And it was quite easy to do through the website. So I said, why not? More visibility, to the YouTube channel, but also just more visibility for us, through the audio form. I haven't checked the stats if we have anything, but if you're listening right now and you want us in audio form only, Apple Podcasts, Blue Collar Sports, Spotify, subscribe today. Don't miss another episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's get into it. NFL Week 2. How much football did you watch? Because I'm going to be real honest. I was busy, and you said you were busy, and especially on Sunday, I had a doubleheader, so I didn't get home. I am not that sad that I missed my Steelers losing to Seattle, but I did not watch the game. I did not watch that much football until I got home. I watched a little bit of the Chiefs-Eagles game, and then later on that night, I actually caught the ending of the Cowboys game, which we can talk about. But actually, let's just get into it, because again, I didn't watch that much football, and you probably watched a lot more than me, so I'm just gonna give you the reins. What did you think about that crazy ass Cowboys Giants? I mean, I'm sure you're ecstatic that they won.
Yes.
And but wow, like it was looking bleak. I was like, this is gonna be a tie. So I'm going to have to do an episode next week and talk to Zach about how the Cowboys tied the Giants. Russell Wilson threw 3 touchdowns, and he fucking erased it all by throwing that horrible interception. That was just so bad. So Russell Wilson, And so what was the emotions? How did you live that game?
That fourth quarter was a roller coaster of emotions that I did not know that a football game could carry me through. Especially the final 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. There were moments where I was like, "Oh, we're gonna win this football game, thank God." To, "Oh my God, how are we blowing this football game right now?" To, "Oh, we're right back into this football game. I'm so fired up. Let's go." It was such a, and then the Russell Wilson turned into the 2018 Russell Wilson where he's just
Yeah.
throwing these moon balls, and I'm like, I was like, do we have a defense? Is there defensive backs that are covering Malik Neighbors? Yeah, I got so fired up. I have never been more fired up over a field goal than I was for the 64-yard field goal that was kicked by Brandon Aubrey. And I was like, oh, we're going into overtime. Let's go. And everybody was tuning into the game at this point. I was getting text messages from people, and a lot of them were saying, wouldn't it be funny to be a tie? It's like, maybe for you it'd be funny,
Yeah.
but it wouldn't be funny for me. Like all that to tie the Giants. I'd much rather lose to the Giants than tie the Giants. So
especially after the roller coaster of that fourth quarter.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah. It was just a roller coaster of emotions going. We were up and then we were down, then we were up and then we were back down, then we were right back up. And then that overtime was just like, it was just like all these errors. It was like, all right, we got the ball. What are you doing, Dak? Don't take the sack there.
Yeah.
No. And then we give it back to the Giants. Like, all right, we got it back. And it was a good punt. We're going to get this back. Somehow we're going backwards. Why are we going backwards here? We're out of field goal range. Not even Brandon Aubrey can make this field goal. And then they gave it back to the Giants. And then that's when Russell Wilson threw that moon ball where I was like, I'm still trying to look at that. It's like, I don't know what he was thinking on that play. Like, he got way too confident. He threw one too many moon balls in that game. And that one was just, it went right to Donovan Wilson.
Right.
And he was just able to easily pick that off. It was like, fuck, even I could have caught that ball the way that it was thrown up in the air.
Yeah, there was no one around. It was like almost like he threw it directly to him.
Yeah,
I was like, did you forget you were playing for the Giants today? Like,
yeah, it's right? Like, did you get confused by the jerseys? Maybe I don't know, but like the Wilson caught the ball, Donovan Wilson should say, and then the Cowboys finally got back into range and got the field goal and was able to end it with 0 seconds left in the game. So, roller coaster of emotions. I don't know if I should be ecstatic over the moon that we were able to beat the Giants this way.
Right.
Because
that's the
Giants,
thing, right? It's like it's the Giants. And you barely beat them, let's be honest.
You barely beat them. So but I'm happy we won, but the way that we won is like, maybe it exposed some weaknesses, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I'm still happy about this offense that Dallas has. I think Dak's really been turning it on in the first few games.
He threw for 361 yards, 38 of 52. Like, he threw the ball 52 times. Like, that's crazy. 2 TDs, 1 interception.
Yeah.
Like, it's not bad. That's a great day. But Russell Wilson threw for 450 yards, had 3 touchdowns. I'm like, now I remember, I was trying to think, like, did I catch the end of this game? And I'm like, I was listening to it on the radio on the way back from the game on Sunday. Because I remember my son asking me, like, is this in overtime? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, the Cowboys are playing the Giants in overtime. And I listened to it all the way home. So I didn't have the visual. I just had the, you see a game going overtime and you're like, okay, let's hope it ends in the first,
first couple minutes.
Whoever gets the ball first, you touchdown, at least a field goal.
Yeah.
When you start seeing punt, and you go, shit, like, there's no one that's willing to take a chance here. And then Russell Wilson took a chance, but unfortunately, there was no one around, and so it was just a crazy ass game. But again, at the end of the day, you're asking yourself, yay for the win, but also we had to beat it. It took overtime for us to beat the Giants.
Yeah.
It's a bit how I felt last week when it took everything the Steelers had to beat the Jets. At first, I convinced myself that the Jets were really good. That's why I picked them to upset the Bills this week, which I was completely off on.
That one didn't turn out very well.
Right. And I was rooting for your pick, which was Jacksonville.
Yes.
And they were leading at one point big. And I was like, I
was feeling super confident once one of the other topics we'll talk about when Joe Burrow went out.
Right. So, and I was just like, oh, this is in the bag. I didn't even pay attention. Then I looked at the final score and I'm like, shit. I'm like, they fucking lost. I'm like, and then I noticed that they lost to a backup quarterback. But we'll get that soon. But I really tried to convince myself that Justin Fields, this was, he found his team. with what we saw in week 2 from Justin Fields, we definitely, I think the Jets were a bad football team. That this the Steelers were a bit better. That's why they almost didn't
Yeah.
beat them in week 1. And look at how the Steelers looked in week 2. I mean, it was completely different for me from the highlights I saw, at least, But again, now I'm playing at the other side. I'm like, well, maybe Seattle's just really, really good. And maybe Sam Darnold is still really, really, really good. So
Yeah.
fingers crossed for my Steelers. But yeah, but again, I'm really, if I'm you as a Cowboys fan, I look at their offense. I'm like, Pickens had his first touchdown with Dallas this weekend. Like, everything just seems to be rolling in the right direction. But can Prescott score 40 points every game to make sure they're even in the game?
Yeah.
That's the big question. You're asking a lot from Dak Prescott.
Yeah. Now he's a guy that's shown he can win in the regular season, but that also comes with, the defenses that he's had over the last couple of years have been really strong defenses, and that's helped him, win some games as well.
Right.
So it's tough, but yeah, it goes back to the point of like, I think there are pieces. This could be me coping a little bit, but there are pieces on the Giants. Like, that defensive line was clearly wrecking some havoc that game
Absolutely.
as well.
Yeah.
And so they have pieces to work with, and and Malik Neighbors looks legit as well. Like, he was able to tear through that Cowboys defense. He got 167 yards receiving, I believe, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, it was
And one of those
insane.
was that that final minute bomb, which then Neighbors did the go to sleep sort of motion. It's like,
Yeah.
maybe that one didn't age as well for him, but yeah, so there are pieces on the Giants, but it was always going to be a year for them where it's like, this is not looking too great
Right.
for them this year, and everybody's talking about Jackson Dart. But I will say, when it comes to the Giants and moving on through the season, at least Daboll doesn't have to answer questions about, so when are you starting Jackson Dart? Because Russell Wilson looked so impressive in that
Right.
game where it's like, okay, we could continue on with him for the next little bit and keep protecting our young quarterback at Jackson Dart until we feel he's ready to step in and be the quarterback for the New York Giants.
I guess my next question is, do you think Russell Wilson can keep this up?
I'm going to say no. I think what we learned with the Cowboys defensive backs is that it is not a strong defensive back unit right now. I had heard once Kyer Elam got traded to Dallas from Buffalo, I heard from Buffalo Bills fans being like, "Oh, thank God you took him on, because he's just been a bust in Buffalo. He's this first round defensive back. He's just not lived up to his end of the deal. Plus, they're in a situation right now. I believe Deron Bland is injured on the defensive end of the ball. So I know that it just seems to be a thing with the Cowboys where they have Trayvon Diggs and they have Deron Bland, but they can never play with each other at the same time and be healthy at the same time. Either one of them always seems to get hurt and is out of the game. And so right now, the defensive back depth is not as strong as you would like. And it's been pretty clear as well that they will have the deep ball open for their guys. So there was definitely some weaknesses exposed on the Dallas defense that hopefully that they'll be able to get resolved in the next little bit. But yeah, going back to your original question about, like, can Russell Wilson continue this? If the defenses are pretty weak and he's allowed to throw these, 50-yard, 60-yard bombs every,
Right.
couple of throws, then maybe he'll be okay. But I think what we've learned with him with Russell Wilson is that he's just a guy that you know what you get with him at this point. He's going to be a deep ball thrower, and he doesn't like to throw it down the middle of the field. I've noticed he always looks down the sidelines in terms of his deep ball throws.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like one-dimensional in that sense.
Very, very predictable.
Predictable,
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm going to say
we
no.
saw it last year with the Steelers where it got predictable. You knew
Yep.
if he was going to launch to Pickens, it was always on the sideline.
Yep.
Always. And teams caught up to it at the end of the season, and they weren't as effective as early on in the season. Absolutely. Right. So they're playing the Chiefs next week. So the Chiefs have something to prove being down 0-2. So I'm not expecting.
Not going to be a good night for the Giants, I don't think.
Right. Or it might be. Maybe the Chiefs. Maybe we'll hit on the Chiefs a bit later. But before we get to the Chiefs, I want to talk about Joe Burrow. And More specifically, I want to talk about the Bengals not being able to protect him, basically, right? I think that's what we're seeing right now, and it's funny because I saw a comparison to Andrew Luck and how many times Andrew Luck uh, got sacked at the same. They're pretty much the same age. I think it was the same amount of games. I forget what it was, but there was a huge difference. Like Burrow is in the 220. I forget what the numbers are,
Mhm.
and Andrew Luck was like 170 something, I believe. And Andrew Luck retired at 28. Like, and I was thinking to myself, like if Cincinnati doesn't do a better job at protecting their superstar quarterback, he's either not gonna want to play for them or something is gonna happen where like his career might be, in jeopardy.
Yeah.
So now we see he's out for 3 months with this turf toe injury, torn ligament. He's gonna need surgery. You said at the beginning of before we started recording that they had signed a quarterback, which was Desmond Ritter. Is that it?
Yep, Desmond Ritter is who they signed. He former quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals and the Las Vegas Raiders. And let me tell you, if you've seen some Desmond Ritter games, you try to forget those Desmond Ritter games
Right.
because he is did not perform to the highest level. Let's just say that.
So who was the backup? This is Browning,
Jake Browning. Yep.
Jake Browning. I think we asked that question. Isn't it funny? Didn't we ask who the backup in Cincinnati was?
Cincinnati was.
Like,
did we curse the Bengals? Did we
fuck,
do that?
no,
Oh
dude.
no.
I gotta go back. I gotta go back and listen to the episode
Yeah.
2 because I think we did because that name rings a bell. I'm like,
oh yeah, we did.
We did, right?
we did. Oh yeah,
we
can't
were
like,
do that
is it
anymore.
Jake Allen or?
No.
Oh no, we did it.
We can't look up a backup quarterback anymore.
Oh no.
Anywho, I mean, he won the game.
Yep.
So here's the shit. Here's the funniest of all this is that the Cincinnati Bengals are 2-0 after all of this. 17 points in the first game. Burrow out for 3 months. 2-0. What do you make of all of this? And like, number one, can they keep winning, or like without Burrow, it's just a matter of time before it all burns down?
It's going to be tough because it's not like all of a sudden the offensive line issues are going to be solved once Jake Browning is in there too. Right? Like he's also going to face pressure and he's also going to face,
and he's not Joe Burrow.
And he's not Joe Burrow.
So,
yeah. So
yeah.
Now he's got the same receiving options that Joe Burrow has.
Right.
But yeah, this is gonna be rough for old Jake Browning. We'll see how he does in terms of how he could fit into the offense. I think it was pretty clear that with it being pretty public that the Cincinnati Bengals were looking for a new quarterback, that even they are probably not 100% confident that Jake Browning could be the guy that could carry the team for the next little bit.
Right.
It's going to be tough. Here's the thing about Burrow, and I think it just kind of goes back to, we've been talking about the Cincinnati Bengals and offensive line for so long.
Right.
Even before Jamar Chase got drafted by the Bengals, everyone was like, you got to protect Joe Burrow because this is a guy that's got so much talent. The season that he had at LSU, being able to have so many, like all those yards that he threw for, those touchdowns that he threw, one of the greatest, QB performances, QB seasons we've ever seen in college football. You got to protect this guy.
And I remember when they drafted him, I remember the talking points were now the Bengals have like the year they drafted him. That was you're absolutely right, because as you were saying it, I'm like, I remember just those same talking points all the time. They need to start protecting Burrow because they're not going to win a lot of football games without it, or stuff like this is going to happen.
Yep, absolutely. And so it kind of goes back to as well, when you look at the way before Jamar Chase was drafted, the big question was there was that offensive lineman from the Lions that the Lions eventually drafted that was available at that time. And the name escapes me all of a sudden. I see it. He played at Oregon. But he was somebody that like on the boards, like, okay, this is an easy pick. They've got their, stud offensive lineman that they can bring in and build around Burrow, but instead the Bengals decided we are going to go all in on offense. Like
Right.
we're going to go in on our weapons and our skill players so that because what they saw in LSU was, Joe Burrow was able to throw to Jamar Chase. He was able to throw, to those elite wide receivers at LSU, and you saw the numbers that he was able to put up just from being able to do that. And
Right.
so they were like, we want to try and mimic that performance here in Cincinnati. So they made the sacrifice, said, we're going to sacrifice some offensive line play because knowing that we have a guy in Joe Burrow that has this elite ability to get around and extend a play and make magic when need be. And we're going to give him the receivers to do that. And for the first little bit, we saw with Burrow going to a Super Bowl, right? And facing off against the Rams. But now you're starting to see the negative aspects of going all in on offense and not investing enough
Right.
in your offensive line. Is you're seeing stuff like this where Burrow now has got turf toe. He's out for 3 months, and they have to go and find guys off the street. And you have to rely on a Jake Browning, and you have to rely on a Desmond Ritter potentially being somebody that could go in and be your starting quarterback for the next couple of months. Like it's not a pretty sight. So right now, the goal if you're the Bengals is you want to try and get yourself at least into a playoff position where you're at least competing so that when Burrow comes back, if he can come back during the season,
Right.
and I imagine Burrow will find somehow, some way to get back, maybe even earlier than expected,
Yeah.
and try and play because that's just how he is. But if you're the Bengals right now, you're looking at a position where you got all these guys and you got to ask of your quarterback to try and lead you to at least be in contention for a playoff spot. Because if they could get there and you can get Burrow in there, your chances will go much better if you're the Cincinnati Bengals. But it's gonna be tough. I mean, there's a lot of great elements to this team, like the receivers as we mentioned, and I'm still somebody that's like bullish on Jace Brown, the running back there for
Yeah.
Cincinnati to really take off. But then you kind of look elsewhere. It's like other than Trey Hendrickson on defense, there's not much that you got going there. Shamar Stewart as well, their draft pick, but yeah, it's going to be rough for Cincinnati, and I don't think they're going to throw in the towel quite yet. Obviously, I think they're going to try and battle it out and see what they've got. But if things don't go well, it wouldn't shock me by like week 8 where they just kind of throw in the towel and say, okay, look, we're going to consider this a lost season, and we're
Right.
just going to use this as a developmental season and see what we've got with our roster.
It's also a situation where if that's the case, then you probably won't see Burrow come back, right? It's like, why would you if after, a couple of months, he's out for 3 months. That's what
Yeah.
they're saying. So give it 3 months, September, October, November, like you're looking at maybe playoffs, right? Like,
Yep.
but again, it's Joe fucking Burrow. He might be 2 months in. He's like, I'm good to go.
Yep.
Wrap me up, coach. I'm good to go. Like maybe,
Yep.
but I agree they're in trouble. Talking about trouble, are the Chiefs in trouble?
I think they're a little bit in trouble.
Right?
A little bit in trouble. I'm not gonna full blown press the panic button yet,
Okay.
but
So did you watch the game?
I watched bits and pieces of the game
Right.
before I had to leave, so I didn't see the whole thing, but I did go see highlights.
Same here. Like I started watching it. Here's what I saw. I saw Patrick Mahomes trying to do it all on his own.
Yeah.
I think that was even the talking point during the game where it's like someone else needs to jump in here. Like he can't do it all on his own. So I saw them struggle, but I also I reminded myself that they faced the Eagles that routed them in the Super Bowl last year.
Mhm.
So maybe the Eagles are, and I believe that the Eagles are a really, really good football team. They're 2-0. They seem unfazed by any of the matchups they've seen this so far, including the Kansas City Chiefs. Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, all those guys. Yeah. So what's your, I guess, reaction after 2 weeks with the Chiefs being 0-2? Like, do you see them still at the end of the season as a top team in the hunt for a playoffs? Or is it like maybe this is one of the seasons where like they're gonna have to fight hard just to make a wild card game?
I still think they'll be in the hunt. I think this is obviously not the greatest start that they were looking for.
Right.
You look at the teams, like you mentioned with the Eagles, like that's a tough task for any team. And also the Chargers too look really good this year. They've really kind of honed in and have
Yeah.
bought into Harbaugh's vision. And
Yeah.
so you have to remember that too. And then I think the reason why I'm not full blown hitting the panic button yet, but I'm like, let's keep an eye on this, is the big factor I think for the Chiefs right now is that they do not have their two starting wide receivers that really give Mahomes a lot of options to work with when he
Right.
throws the ball. Like you don't have Rasheed Rice because of the suspension, and then you've got Xavier Worthy out because of that collision he had with Travis Kelsey. And you'd be okay in the past because Kelsey is an elite tight end
Yeah.
and he could be a reliable option, one of the greatest tight ends to ever play the game. But I think at this stage of his career, I think he's a serviceable tight end, not bad, but not the elite tight end that we expect or have seen from him in the past. And so,
Well, you see him more in spots. I noticed during the
yeah,
game, like he'll give you that big, but it's not gonna be 3 or 4 times a game.
yep. And
It's
Kelsey had that drop as well in
right.
the end zone
Yeah.
near the end of the game. So, yeah. So I think things have kind of changed on the Travis Kelsey front. Like again, I think he's still a serviceable tight end,
Absolutely.
but not this high end best tight end in the league at all. I don't think he's at that stage in his career anymore. Um, so I think right now, if you're Kansas City, I think you're just kind of looking at the options you have on offense, and it's not as much as you would want. And so I think we'll get a better idea of where the Chiefs are at once they have their options back with Rasheed Rice
Yeah.
and Xavier Worthy. And you can never be truly out of a game when you have Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. I know it sounds
Agreed.
like Chris Collinsworth right there, but
Yeah,
like, but
I mean, you're
it's
right.
true.
You're absolutely right. I mean, the guy's it's one he was quickly on his way to becoming the GOAT now. Like, you
Yep.
know what I mean? Like he's a masterpiece out there. Yeah, I
Yep.
agree. Like when you have him, there's always their chances of winning are really high every time.
Yep.
Even
And
if
that's why they didn't go all in on their wide receivers as well. Like they had Tyreek Hill in the past, obviously, but they
right,
traded him away so that they can, vary their depth a little bit more on defense. And they're like, we'll get good receivers, but not elite receivers like a
right.
Tyreek Hill, because we know what we got in Patrick Mahomes and we know he's a guy that can create plays. It's similar to what you kind of see in Buffalo, where Buffalo doesn't have that elite wide receiver either.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of good receivers. And so if you've got some depth there, and you've got a guy in Josh Allen that can carry the ball, like it works out. Even Lamar Jackson, DeAndre Hopkins isn't the same DeAndre Hopkins from 10 years ago. I know he
Yeah.
had that really nice one-handed catch last week, but
He did. That was beautiful.
beautiful catch. But you look at the receiving options there in Baltimore, they're not super exceptional. I think that's kind of what you're seeing with a lot of these teams where they look at and they have these elite quarterbacks. Like, well, we don't really need the elite wide receiver because we know the quarterback can go out and make plays. We just need receivers that are good enough that we know can be like solid, reliable, can make plays when needed. And we will be fine. And I think that was the strategy in Kansas City. But now they're kind of feeling the effects of now both of those receivers are gone and you're going deeper into the depth chart. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't care how good you are. If your receivers can't catch a ball, like it's not going to do much for you. Like it's essentially sending me out there to run some routes and try and try and have me catch the ball from Mahomes. That's kind of where you're at, right?
Yeah.
It's not a good thing. So I'm not willing to press the panic button on the Chiefs quite yet because you can never really truly count out Patrick Mahomes. But depending on when these players do come back and how they look, I do think there are some questions about this team of certainly where they are now compared to years past. Is this truly the elite team that could go to the Super Bowl this year? And I even think we were talking about it before the season started. The vibes weren't as high in Kansas City as it
No.
was in years past because
Yeah.
I don't think the talent is there as it was in years past. So I'm hesitant to push the panic button right now, but I'm hovering over it.
Yeah.
I'm letting it fester a little bit more before I truly press that panic button.
No, I agree with you. I think they're still a good football team, but like they're facing they need it's definitely it's an early must win for the Chiefs in the week 3. So it'll be a fun game to watch between them and the Giants. Is Baker Mayfield a top 5 quarterback right now?
Man, I kind of want to argue for him in the top 5. I kind of want to argue for him. He's fun to watch. He
dude.
really is. He definitely is a top 10 quarterback. I will
Yeah,
very
yeah.
easily say that. But man, like that comeback he put, I did watch that Monday night game, and the comeback he put on the Texans. I know the Texans, there's a lot of questions about them, about CJ Stroud
Yeah.
especially, and where he's kind of at, but
Man, I saw a
um
glimpse. I saw a glimpse in the fourth quarter. That drive when the beginning of the fourth quarter, I saw a glimpse in CJ. I'm like, that's the CJ Stroud.
yeah,
Everything was fun. They made it all the way into like the 10-yard line, and then it
yeah,
sputtered out. They couldn't capitalize, and I was
yeah.
like, for a brief moment, I was like, that's it right here. Everything was
That's
firing.
him.
Nico Collins, everything, bang, bang, bang. And then I'm like, fuck, like,
Yeah,
you need more of this. And then,
yeah,
yeah, Baker Mayfield was like, fucking just locked in, and he
yep,
came in and just pew pew pew. And I love him. I love him. I love how just he just flies under the radar right now. I
yep.
think I saw something. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if you know or not. But I think ever since he signed with the Bucks, he is the quarterback with the most amount of wins ever since then in the league. Is that possible?
Might be possible. I mean, the Bucks have won their division the last couple of years with Mayfield at quarterback, so I can't rule it out.
I don't know if that was it, but it was something where he was first, and I was like, oh my god, like that's pretty significant. I don't know
Yeah,
if it was wins or I forget what it was. I wish every time I see these things, I should just screenshot them, and I always forget. Um, but I think he's doing. I mean, yeah, to put him in the quarter top five, I'd really have to, because again, I'd have to look at guys right now that are not playing to the top of their capacity. Like
yeah,
I like even if Joe Burrow wasn't injured, like right now he's not playing like a top five quarterback. But
yeah,
if he's Burrow, and he has a good offensive line that could protect him for an extra 2 seconds, he'd be top three quarterback. But again, so I always try to think about that. That's why I ask right now, like right now after 2 games, 2 weeks into the season, like he's elite right now. He's definitely elite. And to be
yeah,
able to do what he does with, I mean, he has weapons. That new
yep.
rookie in Tampa Bay there, I forget his name, but
Yeah, Mika Ibuka. Yeah,
yeah,
he's somebody I was like circling, is like coming out of Ohio State, and they produce wide receivers
yeah,
at Ohio State
absolutely.
right now,
Right.
and plus you got Mike Evans. Godwin's out, but like once he gets back in the rotation as well, like
Right.
they've got some stuff to work with there in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And Baker, like he's playing so well right now, and I wouldn't dismiss an argument about him and being in the top
Yeah.
five. I would hear an argument. I don't like, to me, like obviously it would be like Mahomes, Allen, Lamar Jackson, like Joe Burrow. Those are your
Right.
four.
Right.
That fifth one's always up for debate. Like I can hear arguments for Justin Herbert. I can hear arguments for Jalen Hurts. I could even hear arguments for Dak Prescott. I
Mm-hmm.
know I'm a Cowboys
No,
fan, but I do.
absolutely. No, I
But
mean, come on.
he's in the top 10
Right.
for sure. I could hear arguments for Baker Mayfield in that
Right.
slot right now. Like he's playing at a high level, and you kind of look at the numbers last year. Like I have them pulled up from the year before when he went to the Pro Bowl, and he threw for 4,500 yards passing, had 41 touchdowns last year. Like he played at a high level
Yeah.
at last year. So um and again, he's got weapons to work with, and his running core running backs that he's got there too are really good. Bucky Irving and also Rashad White had a good game as well.
Yeah.
So like he's got stuff to work with, but at the end of the day, you still have to kind of step up to your end of the deal. And he was the one that led that Buccaneers team down the sideline and led that comeback. So I
He's
think this. I
definitely
think
the leader on that team.
yeah.
And he
Oh,
he's got a fight. He looks like he's playing with a chip on his shoulder. It's
absolutely.
like
And that's the best Baker Mayfield.
right,
Absolutely.
right.
When he's got a chip on his shoulder, like
Yeah.
that's the best Baker Mayfield.
I saw a meme that said, or somebody, a tweet, or I don't even know if they call them tweets anymore because it's called X, but whatever.
Yeah.
That said that Baker Mayfield, the comeback story, but the only thing he had to come back from was playing for the Browns.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
That's the shitty part. Like that's the fault. Like it wasn't because you remember the whole story with Odell Beckham's father saying that it was all Baker Mayfield's fault that they weren't
Yep.
successful. Remember that shit? And
Oh
he
yeah.
kind of like smudged his name, and then people. I remember watching his first preseason game after the year he got. I was a fan of him from the start. I remember
Yep.
I was on vacation. It was in August, and I was at my wherever I was staying, and I just put on the game. I was like, oh, preseason. I was like Baker Mayfield. I heard about him, and I really wanted to watch him. I remember watching the game. I'm like, he's going to be a star. It was the same year as Saquon Barkley, I believe. Right? They got
Yep.
drafted the same season, the
Yep.
same year.
Yep.
They were playing I don't know if it was each other, but I was watching both those games in the preseason. And yeah, and then I realized he was playing for the Browns. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be rough. You know what I mean? But
Yeah. But he led that Browns team to a playoff
right,
spot. Like,
absolutely.
like there was all there. Like they had all the makings there, but the big thing with Baker Mayfield and what really gets him going is when he's confident. Oh my goodness, like that's a good
Right.
quarterback. And the big thing that they were able to do in Tampa Bay is make him feel like he's the guy and he's confident. And the best, again, the best Baker Mayfield is when he's got a chip on his shoulder. That's why he was able to stand out at Oklahoma, because he was a walk on at Oklahoma. And, he wanted to prove to everybody else, hey, I could play at this level. I could play, high end football.
Right.
And that's what he was able to, accomplish over at Oklahoma. Gets himself into the first overall pick conversation, gets selected first overall, and he's in, that QB class there with him and Sam Darnold, and
Mm-hmm.
Josh Rosen was in that quarterback class,
Yeah.
Josh Allen as well. And he's been able to, it took some time. He had to go to the Rams for a year and really kind of refine
Yeah.
his mechanics. But I think it goes back to, the conversation we had recently about, uh, going over to the Vikings with Daniel Jones and being able to play with the Vikings for a little bit and have a coach that knows how to maximize your ability and work you to your best. And now you see what's happening with Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
I think something similar we saw with Baker Mayfield going to the Rams and getting to learn under Sean McVay.
Did you see
And
his
that's
new
the
nickname, by the way? Sorry to cut you off.
no, I have not.
And I saw somebody calling him Indiana Jones.
Oh yes, okay, I did see the Indiana
I'm
Jones.
like, that's low key one of
So
the
good.
best nicknames in the sports. Like India, are you fucking kidding me? India, I'm
So good.
Daniel Indiana Jones.
Absolutely.
That'll
Oh, I
last
love that.
until he loses 3 games in a row. Then they'll be
Yeah,
like,
then he comes back to reality. Because here's
yeah,
the thing, I was reminded about this, just kind of looking over some of the football season. Do you remember the first 2 weeks of the season last year when the New Orleans Saints were putting up 45-point games?
yeah,
First 2 weeks, I remember it against the
yeah,
Cowboys. I was like, oh my God,
right,
David Carr or Derek Carr. Is it
yeah,
Derek Carr? Derek Carr. David Carr's the other brother.
yeah,
Derek Carr, like throwing these, funny enough, moon balls like we saw with
yeah.
Russell Wilson. It's like, oh my gosh, the Saints have found offense. They're going to be explosive and whatnot. Then they just, crash landed
They won 5 games, I think, for the rest of the
yeah,
season.
like they barely won a game after that. So
Yeah.
there's a part of me with the Indiana Jones, the Indianapolis Colts, and Daniel Jones, where I'm like, this could come crashing down pretty
Absolutely.
significantly. So,
I mean,
but right now it's fun. I do kind of like the redemption story of Daniel Jones right now, where things are going with him, where he kind of gets to stick it to New York a little bit.
he definitely gets to stick it to New York. But again, it's like next week, if he loses big, I'll be like, yeah, okay. Like, let's see where we go from here. And maybe it'll be like, the Saints last year. But I was trying to find something here. But yeah, it's fun to watch, though. I'll tell you that much. These early storylines that I see, like when I'm watching, and these guys are like, "Oh, he's won 2 games. Oh, they're 2-0." When people didn't expect them to win the first 2 games,
Yeah.
like the Chiefs being 0-2 and now moving forward. Obviously, it's great, but again, it's week 2. There's still a lot of footballs. There's still a lot of football to be played. One
Did you
team
see,
that's
by the way,
go.
the Colt with the Colts that I think it was the NFL that actually released it. It was like, here's the Colts punter highlights for this season, and it's all just him like holding the ball for the field goal because they haven't punted yet
Oh my
at all
God,
this year.
for real, huh?
Yeah, he has not punted at all so far this year. So the joke was, it's like all the highlights are just him like getting ready to receive the snap for field goals. just like getting the ball set to go. And I was like, oh, it's just wild to kind of put in perspective. I wonder how McAfee is feeling about all of
It's
this,
true,
having to
right?
see a Colts punter not
Yeah,
punting.
he's happy as a
Yeah,
Colts fan for sure. But yeah, that's funny. So number one, number two passing yard leaders in the league right now: Russell Wilson. Number two, Daniel Jones.
my goodness, who would have
Right?
predicted that?
Like, can you imagine if we're week 15 and we still see Russell Wilson and Daniel Jones and 1 and 2? Like, I'm just putting it out there.
Unreal.
You know what I mean?
That would be
Um,
something.
Speaking about a team that's having trouble right now, or definitely not having the start of the season they were hoping for, is the 49ers. They just can't seem to stay healthy, right? I know Christian McCaffrey is playing right now, but even that's he started the season with a calf injury that made him questionable to start week 1, and then you
Yep.
got Brock Purdy and George Kittle out. So now you're looking at Mac Jones. Is it Mac Jones?
Yep.
Right?
It's Mac Jones.
Yeah, yeah. So what's your thoughts on this? Like are they like cursed right now, the 49ers? They seem cursed.
They've seemed like they've been cursed for the last 5 years.
Right.
Like it just feels like a walking infirmary over there in San Francisco, where it's like they've got all this talent to work with. Now, I don't think this is one of the stronger 49ers teams. And it's funny we're saying this because it's like 49ers are 2-0 right now, but it doesn't feel like a
Right.
2-0 team. It's same with the Bengals, right? Where it's like the Bengals are 2-0, but like it just does
we're
not
here
feel
talking
like
shit about a team that's 2-0 like twice on the
Yeah.
same episode. Like it's
I know,
I get it.
but
I get
the
it.
vibes aren't good, right? Like now, Mac Jones, like I will say with Mac Jones, it is against the Saints, and I don't think the Saints are a good team.
No.
But having said that, Mac Jones did throw for 3 touchdowns, 279 yards passing. So, it will be interesting to see with him. Like, I'm going to go back to a previous conversation about just coaches that know how to maximize quarterbacks to come in and like to have these project quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Mac Jones kind of fits in that as well. Now he's under Kyle Shanahan. Now, not every quarterback has been successful under Shanahan. You see that with Trey Lance. Like Trey Lance has just had a tough time finding. Like I think he's on the Chargers now. I think he's their third quarterback on the depth chart. So it's not been that sort of deal, but I think that's what they're hoping for at San Francisco, where they kind of hone in and try and maximize Mac Jones in an offense where he could do some stuff. But like what you mentioned, it just seems like it's a walking infirmary. I mean, the latest injury for them is Ben Barch, who's going to miss a couple of weeks. He's a left guard for the 49ers. And
wow.
You never want to have injuries on your offensive line that takes you out, and you have to go and rotate.
Especially when you're going to have a backup quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, the 49ers, they've always just been plagued with injuries. There's a reason why it seems like with the 49ers, there's a new running back that's taking over their offense and they're performing so well. It's because the other running back is injured. And so they have to like supplement that with another running back. And it seems like they find these unknown running backs in like the 5th, 6th round. And they're like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden he's running for 100 yards rushing. Yeah. And it can be contributors. So, and that's always going to hover around them with McCaffrey and, again, it's funny because it's like they're 2-0, but you're just kind of looking ahead as like this could be a rough patch here for San Francisco. Now, you're never going to deny they're going to be they're going to be a well-coached team for the next little bit.
Absolutely, yeah, that's true.
And Shanahan is always somebody that is going to find ways to maximize his players and his schemes and make it all work. So I think they'll still find ways to be competitive, but it's just tough to be a 49ers fan nowadays. It really is.
One last thing about the NFL before we move on to a bit of baseball talk. Do you have a problem with Brady being in the coach booth?
Yeah, I do. I don't love it. I feel like he gets away with it because he's Tom Brady.
Right. And also it's like, wait a minute. So you're gathering all this information on all these teams for your other job.
Yep.
Right. So that you can be in front of the camera and speak about all these defenses and offenses about these other teams. And then after that, you get to relay that information to the Raiders as the owner because you sit in the booth.
He's not supposed to do that. That's the thing. Like, he's not doing that.
Are you trusting him?
You mean to tell me the man that's been caught in cheating scandals in the 2000s and 2010s is not going to be doing that?
he seems to be morphing into something else. Have you noticed? Maybe it's just me, but the glasses, he's like, I don't know.
He's trying to create a post-football persona. I
Right.
get what you mean.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, like, but look, he's the GOAT.
Oh yeah.
The fuck am I? That guy's the GOAT. But
Yeah.
it does have a sense or a feeling that he's getting away with this because he's the GOAT, because he's Tom Brady. So yeah, I just wanted to know your thoughts on this, if it bothered you, because
Yeah.
look, I don't know if I'd say it bothers me. I just don't think it's right.
Yeah.
Does it bother me? Look, I'm still gonna sit down and watch football on
Yep.
Sunday, so it bugs me because I just don't think it's right.
Mhm.
But to say that fuck, I'm gonna boycott the Raiders, I don't care. But
Well, I'm
it's
not going to do that. No,
right.
yeah.
No, but it's not right.
They've hooked me in. I'm
Right.
locked in, and
Right.
I'm a sucker. But
Yeah.
I think I think it irks me a little bit more because like I am a broadcaster on the side, and it's
Absolutely.
like,
That's why I
you
asked
know,
you, right?
there is that sort of ethical nature
Mhm.
to it, right? So like I obviously like I look at it from like a commentary first. Like I'm just gonna like take information and use it for my commentary, and I always keep it for myself and whatnot. It's just an ethics thing with me, and so I just see it with Brady, and I know he's the greatest of all time, and you know who am I to throw stones at a guy who's gonna he's a minority owner and also getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars, you know, to call football games every Sunday,
Right.
and to be a color commentator, and he gets to do all these endorsement deals as well. But it does kind of bother me. In my mind, it's like kind of pick your lane. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
are
Yeah,
you
exactly.
are you an owner? Are you an owner that wants to make your team successful? Great. Like, go be the owner of the Raiders and help build your team.
Right.
Be involved with personnel decisions, whatever. Right? But like that's great. Like, I would be very interested to see what a Tom Brady football executive would do with an
Because
organization
I
that's
think he'll
not
be
the
good at
Patriots
that.
owner.
I think he would
Yeah,
be
me
good at
too.
right.
Like I think he's very good at like analyzing, like finding talent, and he was. It sounds like he was the guy that was really at the forefront of bringing in a Pete Carroll and whatnot. Because the thing
Mhm.
with Pete Carroll is that he brings an energy and he's big on creating a culture, and that's what he was able to do in Seattle. He's very different from uh, your normal NFL head coach. He's a guy that's like a little bit more like loose, but he wants to create a culture. And so I think Brady kind of respects that.
Mhm.
And that's why Carroll comes in, because I don't think Carroll's a long-term solution. I think it's part of the plan of the building blocks to try and create something in Las
Interesting,
Vegas.
interesting.
And, and so that's why, so I like it from that aspect. But if you don't want to do that, if you just want to be, you know, you want to be still close to the game, you want to call the games and you want to, you know, relay what you see, and you're like, okay, here's my pen. I'm gonna use my pen to circle these guys, and that's how you get creatively fulfilled. Awesome. Like there is a lot of name value to saying, hey, the greatest player of all time is calling this game, and he's gonna give you his thoughts and opinions on different players and how they're gonna work. And so, but in my mind, it's like pick a lane, you know. So,
Yeah.
you can't be both in that scenario. There's been a lot of guys that have been denied that opportunity. Like I know Peyton Manning had considered being a minority owner, but also want to do the Peyton and Eli stuff, and I
Yeah.
think he eventually got locked out of that. So it does bother me, but. The NFL is willing to make these exceptions, and Brady's going to continue doing that, and it's just frustrating.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Like I said, it's frustrating. It just feels icky. It feels like
Yeah.
he's doing something wrong. So, um, before we move on, anything else you want to talk about NFL related?
Not much on my mind. I try to catch as much football as I could. It was a lot of like dominant victories, right?
Right.
Like the Lions Chicago game. Caleb Williams still looks like the guy that's just going to throw these heat-seeking missiles, but
Fuck.
doesn't actually hit his target.
I feel bad for Bears. I feel bad
Yeah,
for their fans.
they got this super talented quarterback, and it's just they can't seem to ever hone in on their quarterbacks. When your best quarterback is Jay Cutler in your
Yeah.
franchise history,
Yeah.
maybe you could argue Jim McMahon, but when those are your best QBs that have played for your organization, things are not looking good in Chicago. So Yeah, not much else on the NFL front. A lot of dominant performances this week compared to the week before.
Yeah.
But we're still kind of trucking along. We're now into week 3 next week, and I will still be sitting at my television and watching as many games as I can, and trying to consume everything as much as I can. So
Let's talk a bit of baseball. Um, if the playoffs started today, these would be the matchups. Um, Blue Jays and Tigers will get a bye in the American League. Mariners versus Astros in the wild card, and Yankees versus Red Sox. That's right now. You got the Guardians that are about 3 games behind the Astros for the last wild card spot. Seems like it's pretty locked in here. I mean, the Guardians could go on a tear that towards the end of the season, but you got also the Rangers that are 3 games back, and after that, you got the Royals, Tampa Bay. Like, I don't think these guys have a chance. In the National League, Milwaukee, Phillies get a bye. Then you got the Dodgers and the Mets, which I would watch. That would be a
me too.
good series. And then the Cubs and the Padres as well. Padres are really strong. Then you got Diamondbacks that are 1.5 game back from the last wild card spot. You got the Reds and the Giants with 2 games back. I still got my fingers crossed. I feel like the Giants are playing really well at the in the recent weeks. Maybe not in their last 10, but in the 10 games prior to that, I think they were on a tear a little bit. And you got the Cardinals and the Marlins, which I think are pretty much out of it. It's been a really interesting season. Number one, because the Blue Jays are at the top of the American League, right? It's like,
Yep.
okay, wow. Because I thought the Tigers were going to run away with being the best team in the American League. And then here comes the Blue Jays. And they went on that impressive run there for a while where they leaped the Yankees for first place. And then they haven't relinquished the top spot ever since. Let's stick with the Blue Jays. They're obviously going to make the playoffs. Do you like their chances to make it at least to the World Series?
Be tough. I mean, they've looked really strong this year, and
Right.
especially in recent weeks. They're, as we're recording, they're 5 games up on the Yankees for that top of the AL East. So, things are looking good. I look at this Yankees and Red Sox series, like that's always going to be a must watch series whenever round they're in, when it comes to the Yankees and the
Right.
Boston Red Sox and where they will go. So they're obviously, from that aspect, I would love to see the Blue Jays get the bye and go to the ALDS and take on whoever the winner of Boston and New York is. But because I don't see, like, if I were to take the playoff picture right now, like I could see Seattle moving past Houston and whatnot. So that would mean it would probably be Boston or New York that would
Right.
move on based on the rankings. So it's tough because whenever this Blue Jays squad, specifically Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette's injured and he's gone for the rest of the regular season, so we won't see him until the postseason.
Is he really? How did I
Yeah,
not
it
know
was
this?
just announced today, about an hour or two ago, that they're putting him. He's not going to play for the rest of the regular season, but he'll be ready to go for postseason ball. So
Okay.
that's going to be interesting too. The thing with this Jays squad, this core that they have over the last couple of years, is that they don't show up in the playoffs.
Mhm.
They just have a tough time, and I have concerns about that bullpen that they have in Toronto. Like, their starting pitching has been so solid, and the acquisition of Shane Bieber has been really good for the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
A really smart move. And so I think the rotation depth that they have is strong. But once you get into that bullpen, it gets a little bit more like,
Definitely
I don't know
dicey.
how this is going to go.
Right.
This might be rough. And I think when you have a scenario like this where you need your pitchers to be at their best, you can only rely on your starters for so long, but you need your bullpen to be
You know when a bullpen
good
is
as well.
really, really important?
Yeah.
During the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right.
So I have a tough time seeing them get to the World Series because I just think that bullpen's not good enough.
Right.
I think they've got other elements to their team that they're good. Like again, the pitching's good. The hitting has been there. Springer has looked really solid this year.
Yeah,
Like
he's
he's really found it this year. And so there's a lot to like about this team, but the bullpen still has me concerned that they could go even further, even into the ALCS. I think it would be tough. But
Right.
but they surprised me this year. Like I didn't think we would be in this position right now where the Blue Jays are on top of the AL at all. Like I did
Right.
not see it with this team. So I've been proven wrong before on this team. They could certainly prove me wrong again into the playoffs.
I will go against something you said. I think the Astros are the team to watch.
Okay. All
I don't
right.
know. I have a hunch. I know they've been dealing with injuries late in the season right now. I think that's why they're like, but they're 5-5 in their last 10. And yeah, maybe I don't know. They lost momentum because I know a week ago they were really gaining a lot of momentum, if I'm not
Mm-hmm.
mistaken. Uh the Mariners are 9-1 in the last 10. I'm always looking uh at who is getting hot at the right time. That's all
Yeah.
about. You get into the playoffs on a nice run, and the Mariners seem to be doing that right now.
Yep.
Um, I'm the same about the Blue Jays. It's like, yeah, I love seeing them on top. I don't trust them in the playoffs. I don't know what we're gonna get. Are we gonna get that team that all of a sudden is just gonna offensively carry that team, and so the bullpen can be mediocre in situations? And then you have I think the X factor for the Blue Jays is going to be Max Scherzer. I think he brings a lot of experience when it comes to playoff baseball, and he's not been that bad. I know that he's been dealing with the thumb issue, I believe, and all that stuff, but yeah, it's I'm keeping my fingers crossed in the American League to see them there. But yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough because Yankees, Red Sox, they're seasoned vets when it comes to playoffs. They're like, this is where we know we strive. This is where we're
Yep.
successful. So it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. How about the Indian National League? What's your big worry? Do you think the Dodgers have it in them to repeat still?
I do think they have that ability. I just how deep that team is.
Yeah,
I do think they have the ability. They showed it last year, and so I'm not concerned about the Dodgers and how they'll be able to do. Teams I'm kind of keeping an eye on that I think will do. Like I think that Phillies team looks real
yeah,
strong. That Phillies
yeah.
team looks real
Yeah.
strong. I could totally see them get to the World Series. That would be a favorite I'm looking at.
That's a team that right now 8-2 in the last 10.
Yeah,
And they're gelling right at the same time. The Brewers, I think, peaked a bit too early. I think they peaked a bit too early, and I think right now they're coming back down to earth a little bit. I still
yeah,
think they're going to be uh, strong in the playoffs, but I just don't think they're built like the Phillies and the
yeah.
Dodgers, even even the Cubs. Even the Cubs are a good baseball team, and they've been playing well in recent weeks. So I don't know. I do agree that the Dodgers are the Dodgers. I mean, Christ, as like we've talked about
Right.
it so many times, like it's just
Yeah.
crazy. Um, just keeping my fingers crossed that my Giants can pull something out of their ass right now and maybe leap the
Find a
Mets.
way in.
Because
Yeah.
it'll be if they do get that final spot and it gets to be the Dodgers versus the Giants
Oh,
in a wild card. Oh, dude, like
that
I'm
will be
all
a
in
fun
for that shit.
series. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And again, don't put anything past the Giants if they make it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
They proved it before when they went through their mini dynasty and about the 10 years ago. And
Hmm.
the first time they won the World Series, they were a wild card team. So it's like, but yeah, I think the Phillies are looking really good. I think the Tigers, this might be the year where they get over the hump, or that playoff hump.
Hmm.
Uh, Dodgers are the Dodgers. So I'm looking forward for these next few weeks, the end of the season, to really see what teams can really get on the roll, where they get everything fine tuned and yeah, this is the fun time of year for baseball fans.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to this. One last thing before before we end this episode. Lesnar versus Cena this Saturday for the Fifth time? Is it?
Yes, they had the Extreme Rules match, SummerSlam match. I know they had them matches obviously in 2004 and SmackDown and whatnot. So I think you're correct. I think this would be their fifth match.
I was a bit like a bit standoffish from the when I saw Lesnar come back
Yeah.
after Cena lost to Cody Rhodes. And then last week I was reminded of the storyline behind Cena and Brock Lesnar. And I was reminded that they both came up through OVW at the same time. They both broke into the business pretty much at the same time. Lesnar was gone within the first 2 years, but he became the youngest champion at the time, the big push. And Cena kind of came out on fire against Kurt Angle, and then everything. Then 2 weeks later, was getting booed. And then it was almost like, we're going to release you if you can't figure this shit out. And then
Yeah.
he comes out with the Thugamatics and the fucking whatever gimmick that ends up working. And they end up feuding a few times. But considering that we're watching Cena in his last few matches right now as his career is winding down, I think this is a fitting match for the moment. I don't think it would have been a fitting match if it was Cena's last match, but I think it's good for where it's at. I think they'll be able to close this long uh, arc storyline between the two. There's a story to be told. I'm sure they're going to make a documentary or whatever about it, or
Right.
some sort of segment where they'll talk about it, including their last match. But yeah, I think it's good. Your thoughts?
I had a tough time with Brock coming back, but for different reasons. The way
Right.
that he came back, and I didn't like the WWE cut off questions on the press conferences. I know the press conferences were a joke, quite frankly, and it was a sham and whatnot.
Right.
But the fact that you're bringing a guy in with all the stuff that's the baggage that comes with them, I'll just say that if you're going to do that, I feel like you got to face the music and say, here's what we looked at, here's what we investigated, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that. They just threw him on screen.
Right.
And so there is still this uneasy feeling for me personally in terms of seeing Brock being on my screen. But so I wanted to make that clear. But in terms of looking at it, the way that they've done the story on TV and getting it makes sense in terms of obviously past opponents that Cena has had. Brock is a pretty prominent figure. I remember that Extreme Rules match. That was also the same night that Osama bin Laden died and John Cena gave that speech in front of the crowd. It's a very weird night. But I remember that, and then I remember the SummerSlam match where Lesnar just threw him all over the place and just
Right.
like tossed him around. And so I remember all that. So those two have always had interesting matches together. What they will look like in 2025, I think, is going to be interesting. Cena has looked a lot better. I think it's become pretty clear that he just didn't know how to work as a heel. And
Right.
when he didn't, and because he didn't know how to work as a heel, his confidence went down. And when his confidence went down, the effort levels just wasn't there. Like some
Yeah.
of those heel Cena matches were just rough watches.
Horrible.
He just didn't know how to work it.
Right.
Now he's back in the babyface role, and that's just so much stronger for him.
Mhm.
So I'm glad that we're getting babyface Cena back. The way that they kind of rushed back into it was a little funny, but
Yeah, that was ugly, but I'm glad they just got there. It's like, let's rip the Band-Aid. Like, what's the easiest way to get here? It's like, let's tell him he had a change of mind. All right, Mike.
All
know
right,
what?
I'm in. Yeah, I understand, and it's like, so I looked at all that, and so there are elements to this that I understand why they're doing it, and plus, you need a big name because they're going to be on ESPN,
Right.
as well, and and I'll say that Lever Sage and I really broke down in detail on the This Is Wrestling podcast about how WWE's maneuvering to try and really counter against AEW now. They've really kind of ramped up the counter programming. And so because I will say I'm going to AEW All Out this Saturday with a bunch of guys. It's taking place in Toronto. And we had to adjust our plans because initially it was going to be a 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock start time. But then WWE announced their show. And because of that, AEW moved back their show from 7 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So we had to like switch everything around.
Shit.
And yeah, so it was like, it's pretty clear some of the counter programming efforts that WWE has been trying to put in. And and now going into ESPN, they want to establish it. I mean, you look at this card, you got Cena, Lesnar,
Yeah.
AJ Lee is back, and she's in the tag match there with Punk against Rollins and
That's
Becky.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah, that's big, and the Usos as well.
Yeah.
Making their return, Io Sky versus Stephanie McCure. I think that's going to be a really good women's match. So they've loaded up this first card for WWE. So, and I know there's a match I'm missing as well. See, I think Cody's defending the belt as well against Drew McIntyre, if I'm
That's right.
not mistaken.
Right.
So it's a big card that they've got loaded up there, and so all that to say, in terms of kind of going back to your original point about Cena Lesnar, I wish they could have fleshed it out a little bit more. It felt like they just kind of threw him on there for the sake of throwing him on there.
Right.
There are the connections in the backgrounds, but I really wanted them to flesh it out on TV, because sometimes we as fans, I call it on the, what do I say on the show? I have this term where it's like, where it's essentially like fantasy booking in our heads, where we kind of fill in the gaps as opposed to WWE filling in the gaps.
Yeah.
And so we try and hype it up ourselves and try and fill in those gaps. And sometimes we kind of fool ourselves, work ourselves into a shoot, let's say, into thinking what we're seeing is really good, but really it's because, you're trying to fill in the gaps of what you're watching.
Right.
So, yeah, so it's going to be an interesting weekend. I won't be able to watch it live because I will be coming back from Toronto for the AEW show at that point. But it's going to be a very interesting weekend of wrestling coming up.
Awesome. I hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you have fun. And it's going to be great. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Who do you think they're lining up for Cena's last match?
Man, it's tough. I would have said Punk many weeks ago, and they already did the Punk match, and I would have said, like, there was a bunch of people that was like, oh, that maybe they'll do this, and they're already putting the Brock match out of the way. Like, there's not really one that's kind of stuck out in my mind. If it was going to be Randy Orton, I was going to lose my mind. I just, like, I'm so done with Orton personally. Like, I understand we've had this debate before, and I understand I'm in the minority, so I won't relitigate that. But, yeah, it's tough. I saw people throwing around The Miz. I was like, I don't know if the Miz would be a suitable final match for John Cena, So, I mean, the one idea I saw thrown out there that I think could be really interesting if you really wanted to put somebody over is Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker versus John Cena
because you have to think
match.
that maybe they could use this to just put someone over, right?
Yep.
That's definitely something I thought about. Braun Breaker would definitely be, right? Because
I like that idea a lot.
Right. I haven't really thought about it, but then you go through the catalog of big names, like who could they send out there? Like, I believe, and maybe I'm wrong about this, I believe that if Kevin Owens wasn't injured, that it would be him.
Oh, that would have been a great one. Yeah. I love those matches back in the mid 2010s where they just had such good chemistry. And
it's the one, I remember it was one of the first time where I went, like, John Cena's like pulling out some moves I've never seen before.
Yeah,
remember
pulling out a Code Red,
right?
And the springboard stunner.
It's like whoa, like yeah. And so I love these two when they go at it, and yeah, I thought to myself, I'm like, maybe that'd be the guy if he was not injured. That would make the most sense. They have a history together, they've had great matches together. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see because he's got like 8 appearances, I think, left.
Yep.
That's about it, right?
Yeah, so, it's starting to run out pretty quickly.
It's fun to watch. I've been definitely enjoying him more since he went back to babyface John Cena.
Yeah,
like I was like,
he's a lot more confident in that role.
Oh, it's like a
lot more confident.
Right. They did the right thing. They're probably selling way more merch too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you, before we finish this episode, quickly, do you think Jey Uso goes heel?
That would be interesting. I'm going to say no. I feel like with him in that babyface role, I think he's still getting reactions. They could be tough at this point to turn him heel at this stage. Right. I think there's a little bit more they could do with an Usos tag team run for the next little bit. Keeps both of them busy. I think it would be a mistake at this point. And I'm not even really the biggest Jey Uso guy, but if I'm just somebody you're giving me the pencil and I'm booking and I'm writing the shows, I wouldn't do it at this stage. I think you want to ride out this babyface run as long as you could go.
Right.
And then eventually you might look into the idea of turning Jey Uso heel if the crowd reactions are starting to lessen and
Right.
You kind of realize, maybe you're not getting the return on investment that you were hoping for. So that's how I would look at it. I think it would be too soon though at this stage if he were to turn heel on Saturday.
Good. Do you think LA Knight will ever be world champion?
No, I do not. I think he'll be a contender. I think he's an over character. I think he's somebody you can rely on in your mid to upper mid card, but I don't think he'll ever be a main event guy. I think the opportunity to push him as a main event guy was a year or two ago,
and
they made it clear. And they made it clear where they stand with him and how they view him. And he'll be over. There's nothing wrong with being an. He's
trying really, really hard to prove them wrong, right? You could tell he's giving it.
He's like, give me a title shot, right? And
every match he's in, though, I'll say this: great matches. He rarely misses. He does not miss. He's professional. When he puts the professional in professional wrestling, that's for sure. Like every match is solid. His moveset is solid. He rarely misses. He's very active in the ring. I love him. But I agree that if they were going to pull the plug on him, it would have been 2 years ago. It's too late now.
Yeah. I might have told this story on the podcast already, so apologies if I'm repeating myself, but I remember I accidentally jabbed LA Knight in the throat with my mic flag as I was interviewing him.
No, I didn't hear that.
So this is when he was in TNA, when he was Eli Drake.
Oh, okay.
And Bound for Glory was in Ottawa. And so I'm like, I get to interview all these wrestlers. I was in college. I was like, I get to interview all these wrestlers and do it for my radio show. Bobby Lashley was still in the company at that time.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So this is like 2017 TNA, or actually it was rebranded to Impact Wrestling at this point. And LA Knight agreed to do an interview with me. And so I had the mic flag that was being recorded for YouTube, and I had my separate audio recorders for my radio show. And I was trying to adjust my my mic flag, and in doing so, I didn't realize how long the mic flag was. So I turned it and I accidentally jabbed LA Knight right in the neck. I actually caught it on audio. I need to find if I still have it in the archives. I remember hearing him. He's like, Jesus, careful. I was like, oh, sorry about that, man. I'm so sorry. I forgot about the mic flag.
Yeah, oh, shit.
He's like, oh, that thing could jab my eye out, man. Like, you gotta be careful of that. It's like, I forgot I had this in my hand. I'm sorry. So that's my story of me accidentally jabbing LA Knight.
That's why he'll never be world champion.
That's right. It's like he got so mentally disturbed by that, and he's like remembers this kid from Ottawa 10 years ago now, not 8 to 10 years ago. Like, he jabbed me in the throat. I've never been the same ever since. It's unbelievable. So,
Zach, another great episode. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
It was great. And if you're still here listening, thank you. SVG TV on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Blue Collar Sports, Spotify, Blue Collar Sports. Subscribe today. Never miss another episode. Same thing with YouTube. Subscribe to SVG TV. Check me out on Instagram at Savage Paulson, and you can check out Zach on Instagram as well as Zach McGibbon Media. Thanks for the support. Thanks for listening, and catch you again next week for another episode of Blue Collar Sports.